Okay, is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. So basically, we will be covering a couple of things today. Okay, first of all, we will be talking about functions. I will tell you what are we going to cover. We will be discussing the functions. What are functions? Why do we use them? What are the usage of functions? Then we will discuss the scope of the variables, scope and lifetime of variables. Then we will discuss a couple of built-in functions like map, reduce, divmod, enumerate, is instance kind of things. Then we will discuss function arguments. That's all. If time permits, then we will discuss recursive functions and anonymous or lambda functions. That is all we are going to cover today. After that, we will be discussing about means if anyone has any kind of doubts, then we will spare half an hour or 45 minutes for that. So what is a function? Function is nothing but a group of related statements that perform a specific task. Functions help us break out our program into a specific chunk or modules. Let's say if I want the sum of two numbers, there is a function which is defined. Let's say I'm working on Excel. I know there is a function defined. I'm using Flipkart. I'm using Amazon. So if I'm using any kind of button there, or let's say if I'm clicking on something, there is a function defined which every time does a specific task. That is why we always call it, this is the functionality of this application. This is the functionality of this module, some or the other way. So this is nothing but a function. Now, there are few things which we need to discuss. There are few things which I have already mentioned here. This is how we define the function. Def, function name, parameters. This is our doc string. So string in Python can be defined in three ways: single quotes, double quotes, and triple quotes. You can use any one of them. Generally, triple quotes is used when we are trying to define a definition of a function. That is when we use triple quotes, and it is always used right after the string. So let's say, sorry. Get my full screen now. It was not done earlier. Let's say we have already heard of the help function. Let's say I want help on print function. Give me help. So this is nothing but the doc string of print function. This is the doc string. So whatever function, let's say I'm defining, I can provide my doc string right after the function definition. And then whatever statement, whatever I want it to be done, it will do it. So the major points which we need to discuss, the keyword def marks the start of the function header. Parameters, or some or the other way we can call them arguments, through which we pass the values to function. These are optional. A colon to mark the end of the function header. Docstring describe what does the function does. This is optional. Yes, docstring is always optional, but it is always recommended to comment your code and provide docstrings to the functions. Return statement to return the value from the function. This is also an optional thing. Now I have just an example written here. So I have defined a function using def keyword, print name and ask. I'm providing one parameter, and then this function prints out the name. Okay, this is the doc string which I have written in triple quotes. It starts here, ends here, and then I'm saying print hello str of name. That's all. It's not authorized. Okay, I don't care. Okay, why are you taking time? Okay, it is allocating. I didn't run it. Just give it a second. Connected. Beautiful. Now I can call the function now. Let's say whatever name I'm passing, whatever argument which I'm passing to this function name, print name, it is going to print it for me. The moment I run this print name is going here since I have already defined it, and then it is calling this and it is coming here. It is printing the hello and str of the name. That is why I'm getting hello Satish, because I provided Satish as an argument for name. Now we discussed and we even defined the doc string of this function. We just wrote this function prints the name. Okay, this function prints the name. This is the doc string which we defined. Now, doc string is nothing but the first string after the function header is called a doc string and is a short for documentation string. Although optional, documentation is good programming practice. Always document your code. Doc string will be written in triple quotes so that doc string can be extended up to multiple lines. This is one of the main reasons we use triple quotes while defining a doc string. Now, what if I want to print a doc string of any specific function? I can write the function's name and I can do just dot underscore underscore doc underscore underscore, and I can just hit run. It will print the doc string for me. So let's say if I change the function, this is my first perfect, and I run the doc string again. Now it will change it accordingly, whatever you have already written. So we discussed three things: how to define a function, what are the important parameters, what are the keywords which we use while defining a function, how do we call a function, and what is the importance of doc string in a function. The next thing is the return statement. The return statement is nothing but it is used to exit a function and go back to the place where it was called. Okay, it is nothing but that. Not, the syntax which we use is this: return and the expression. That's all. Return statement can contain an expression which gets evaluated and value is returned. Okay, there are two things which we need to keep in mind. Okay, let's say we have already defined this function print name, and I have not given any return statement here because we discussed that it is optional. Return statement is absolutely optional. Now, what I think is, let's say whatever value is going to come out of this function, I'm going to store it in some variable, let's say a. And let me print a. And tell me what would be the output of a. Okay, sorry. Yes, can I tell me what would be the output of a? Okay, am I on mute here? I am not on mute. It gives you none. So this is hello Shirish came from here. And when I printed a, it gave me none. Reason is when you do not have a return statement in your function and you try to assign that function to a variable and then you try to print that variable. So what did we do here? We assigned the a variable to print function, print name function, and then we printed a. It gave you none object because we are not returning anything from the function. This is how things work out. Now, let's say I will manipulate this function a bit. Let me comment out this line. Yes. Return name. Okay. Now I will run it. Now I will run it. Now it will give me Shirish because I'm returning the name from the function. Once I'm returning the name, this name is going to get assigned to A. Hence, it is when I'm printing A, it is giving me Shirish. So this is the importance and the difference of using the return and not using the return. This is another example. Now I have a function which I have defined called getSum. I'm defining a list. I'm providing a list as an argument. This function, I have defined a docstring. This function returns the sum of all elements in a list. I have initialized a variable called 0, and then I'm iterating over the list elements. So for num and list underscore sum is equals to num, and I'm returning underscore sum. Okay, please tell me if this statement is clear. Otherwise, I will explain it. I will explain how it is working out. Is it clear with everyone?
Yes.
Okay, you can actually speak. I feel like I'm talking to myself now. So what I'm doing here, I'm returning the variable which I've initialized as 0. Then I'm summing it up all the elements. Let me just run this function. Okay, please explain. I will explain it. So forget about that. I have defined a function. Just focus on this loop here at the moment. What I have defined is a list. Okay, I've defined a list. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. I already know that the summation of these 4 elements is going to be 10. Okay, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is going to be 10. Now, I want nothing but to place the sum of this list, sum of all the elements of the list in a variable. I have initialized a variable called underscore sum. You can actually do it. You can, in case you do not know, you can start a variable name with an underscore. It is valid in Python. You can do that. So I've defined this iterable variable just for my purpose. For num in this list, underscore sum is equals to, then I'm adding the value of every element. So let's say on the first iteration, 1 is going to be added to 0. So 0 plus 1, 1. Then 1 plus 2, 3. Then 3 plus 3, 6. And then 6 plus 4, 10. This is how it is defined. So I ran this function. Then I created a variable called s. I called that function getSum and I provided a list. Once I run the function, I get this. I can provide as many elements as I want. And sorry, it is going to do that. Now you can say that I can use the print statement to print the value. Yes, you can do that, but sometimes you do not need to print the value instantly. Sometimes you need the value to be assigned to a specific variable because you are going to use it in some other cases. So this is how you would do these things. Similar way, I defined a docstring and I'm printing a docstring. So any questions until now? Otherwise, we will jump to scope of the. Any questions in this? Perfect. Thank you. Okay. What is the scope and lifetime of variables? When we defined a function, okay, we defined this function under, and we created a couple of variables in the function. In this case, we created underscore sum. Num is of no use, so I'm not even talking about it, but we created underscore sum. What if I try to call this sum outside of this function? Will it give me any value? I have already ran this. If I did, it does not say. It says that, okay, it is not defined because the scope of the variable matters. How are we dealing with it? There are two kinds of variables which are mainly there in Python. One can be thought of as global variable. Okay. One as a local variable. Global variable is something which you define outside the function and you can even use it inside the function. Let's say, okay, I define this a function, a variable outside this. Let's say, print a. I got it because a was globally defined. I got the value a Shirish. I was able to get it. However, when I tried to print it underscore sum, it was not available because that was a local variable. So this is the major difference in between local variable and a global variable. Scope of the variable is the portion of the program where the variable is recognized. Variables defined inside a function is not visible from outside. Hence, they have a local scope and they are called local variables. Lifetime of a variable is the period throughout which the variable exists in the memory. The lifetime of variables inside a function is as long as function executes, and variables are destroyed once we return from the function. So these are few statements which I have written. Now let's do an example here. It will give you more idea. Then we will do a little question answer in case if anyone has any. I've defined this global variable. and this is global variable. Then I'm defined a function called def test lifetime. This is my doc string. This is my local variable, which is this is local variable. I try to print local variable and global variable. I'm calling the function here. OK, and I'm printing the global variable, which I have defined here. And then I'm trying to print the local variable. Let's see how it goes. Now, I will not scroll everything down. OK, let's go step by step. As soon as I called the function, it went here. It defined the variable as local variable, and it printed the local variable as this is local variable. Perfect. On the next line, it printed print global variable. Then I printed global variable. Perfect. Now, again, outside of this function, once this function executed, these two line printed, perfect, function is done. Now, again, I'm printing the global variable, which is here. It is printing me this. Then I'm trying to print the local variable again, which was inside this function only. It gives me an error. It says the local var is not defined. So this is the major difference between the local variable and a global variable, and majorly the scope. This is how you define a scope, and it is actually very important. Are we good on the scope thing? Yes, no, maybe shut up.
It is clear to me.
Thank you, Risha.